For most of us, we'll see Saturn moving through a sign only twice in a lifetime. And that's because Saturn takes exactly 29 and a half years to move through one zodiacal constellation. And in that regard, his movement through the sign of Aries is coming up for all of us in this month of May on the 24th, 5th, time zone dependent. This planet moves into Aries and does not fully leave Aries until February of 2028. So we're in for a ride, and it's a ride that might remind you of your life, 1996 to 1999. Should you be even older and remember 1969, that was the last time this journey was occurring, and going back even further, 1939, 37, 39, and even into 1940. So we're going to go through what it might mean for you and me and the world to go through a Saturn in Aries yet again. Understand that this Saturn and Aries journey, May the 25th to September 1st, is exactly what it is. It's a preview, a testing. It's like a trailer of a movie. We're going to know what Saturn's up to by watching what he does in the next 4 months. And I'm going to explain that to you because it's a very interesting way to understand what the next 4 years are about, because he'll give you enough clues this summer as to what he's up to. No transit of Saturn is identical. We have Neptune and Aries joining him. We have this summer a relationship between Saturn and Uranus, and also a square to Jupiter that make every single transit of Saturn through Aries unique and different. But we can still look at the idea of the basics. Now, if you want to go really deep, where I discuss what to do this year between May through to September based on your sign, and understand how you can use this, we'll dive into some techniques, some tools, some understanding, perhaps a guided meditation, but certainly the logistics of this next summer's, this summer, May 25th to September 1st. Sign up for my free webinar below. I'm really going to dive more deeply into some of the activations of Saturn with other planets this summer, how this might work for your sign, what you might make of it, as well as some historical stories as well. Well, hey, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Lori Lothy, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, the whole sign houses. We are always talking fixed stars and minor asteroids. And so in that regard, if you like all this kind of content in astrology and you like the all sign stuff, please sign up for my channel by hitting the like button, subscribing, clicking the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos that I drop, which are literally about 30 videos a week, a year, a month, a year, a week, a month. And yes, I am the hardest working astrologer. On YouTube, I have Saturn in Aquarius on my ascendant. I tend to be a workaholic. And if you want to study how to be your own astrologer and time your best life, I'm opening my Sky Reader class for summer school instead of the fall this year because of some travel. And if you want to join me, it's going to start mid-June through to the end of July. It's a live class with me. It's how to learn the basics of astrology and some very simple but effective timing tools. This is good for advanced beginner to maybe just low grade intermediate. And if you want to learn with me, come aboard. It's a fun class. I'll be my 6th time teaching it. And if you also want to buy my 2025 bundles, each video for each sign, you get the whole package of them, 2-hour videos times 12, a PDF guidebook for each sign. And we still have more than half a year left. So it's half price until the end of May. And that's $33 instead of 66. So why don't you grab that as well? Help you navigate stories upon stories as the sky keeps changing like a kaleidoscope. And we have to go, ooh, what's next? Oh my God. Sometimes that's what I think. It's like a kaleidoscope. All right. So, oh, you beautiful flowers are so pretty. Tulips and lilies. I want you to screenshot this in case you're a geek. Okay. If you're not a geek, you don't have to worry about it. But I'm going to give you an image of the basic story of the time frames that Saturn enters Aries. Then I'm going to tell you what it means for you and me and maybe the world. And then I'm going to do your sign. When I do your sign, I'm going to bring your attention in particular to how this will impact your story when it comes to the Aries whole sign house of your natal chart, and how it may also connect you in some very fundamental ways to the Capricorn house of your chart and to what Mars is up to in our current sky. There are reasons for that. Most simply that Mars is in Leo as Lord of the ingress or the entry of Saturn. So we have fire in the sky. We have fiery Mars, and we have fiery Venus and Aries. And now we have fiery, oh my God, we've had Venus and Aries. And when we got fiery, we still will. We've got a lot of fire in our sky. So initiative, boldness, daring, and pioneering energy as this ingress occurs. But also, you know, Capricorn, Mars exalts Saturn in Capricorn. It's like, hey, come to my house. Saturn says. So Saturn exalts Mars in Capricorn. Saturn says to Mars, come to my mansion. I'll give you VIP treatment. I'll give you like a limo, and you can have the pool house, you know, with all of the, you know, the servants waiting on you by the pool. And by the way, what else do you need? So there's a special affinity between Saturn, okay, and Mars. They don't dislike each other. They're the malefics, greater and lesser, sure, but they're still not like enemies in the sky in that regard. The god of war, right, is not an enemy with Saturn, lord of time and karma. So we're going to say that probably you can see some collateral benefits in the Capricorn part of your sky as well, and that would be true no matter where Saturn goes. He may kick back the benefits, but in particular this time, because Mars owns the real estate of Aries. Okay, it's his territory. Saturn's his house guest. But Saturn says to Mars, anytime you need a place to stay, my Capricorn zone is ready for you. And we're going to have a really fun time with some cigars and some cognac. This is Capricorn, right? So some fine cigars. I'll take a Romeo and Juliet, some fine cognac. We're going to do refined gourmet dinners, and we're going to have nothing but the best. All right. So we'll talk about your Capricorn sky as well. It's going to take me a while to get through this video. If you're trying to figure out how long to listen, if you're in the premiere, it's a lot of content. I'm going to try to keep it to 90 minutes. However, take a screenshot and see if this doesn't help. Here we go. I'm going to share this with you. And just there you go. Boom. This is what you might want to know about. Some of you only will remember the 90s. Some of you certainly could possibly remember 1967. That was a nice tight within the bounds year of Saturn in 1967. Oh, sorry, to 69. I don't know what I'm thinking. But if you look at these dates, I mean, there was a lot of ingressing in and out of other signs. There's a lot about each of these time periods when it comes to things to do with war. For example, 1967 to 69, a lot of you might remember that we had the Vietnam War going on. It was a big deal, and you had sit-ins and student protests, and there was a lot of civil unrest connected to the continuation of the war, and Nixon was elected on the anti-war platform, and just, you know, Lyndon Baines Johnson and all that stuff. So one thing I want to say about Saturn and Aries back then is that Saturn is a constriction or the restraint of something. It can be many things, but that's one thing it does. And Aries is a sign of war. And there was hardship and constriction and constraint and a desire or an attempt in the celestial heavens to rein in or command, control, or to reduce the war, right? Constrict or constrain the war through student protests and marches and Summer of Love and Haight-Ashbury and all of those things that happened in the 1960s. I'm not going to cover what happened back in the 30s to 1940 now. I'm going to do that in my webinar if you'd like to know, but we will be covering that as well. You might also notice that April 7th of 1996 to June the 9th of 1998, ask yourself what you were doing at that time, and ask yourselves where you might have seen some constriction in wars. I'm covering that in my webinar. I don't have the time in this video to do that. I want to share your story instead here. October of 1998 to February 28th of 99 as well. Like, it's broken up because Saturn enters Aries and backtracks out and goes into Pisces and comes back again into Aries. So we keep seeing this ziggle wiggle stuff. But 96 to 99, just a general 5, 96 to 99, spring of 96 right to spring of 99. And finally, here we are, May 24th, 25th. It's all kind of like on your time zone, but let's go May 24th, 2025 to September 1st, 2025. We're in the first testing 1-2-1-2 as Saturn enters Aries, where Neptune is sitting, bringing us another flavor, Saturn and Neptune. And then February 13th of 26 to April 12th of 2028, we get the last gasp of the story. And in general, Saturn is 2.5 years through every sign, although he may wiggle back and forth, all right, because he has to backtrack a bit into the sign before. Now, I hope you've got a screenshot done by now, so you have this handy remembrance guide for yourself. What I decided to do today is I decided to think about I wrote down some ideas I had about what it's like to find Saturn in Aries, because Aries is about independence. It's I am, it's the child archetype, it's the warrior, it's about being in the now, it's connected to things to do with daring and courage and risk taking, evil Knievel, risk takers, daredevils, warriors, heroes. It is also connected very strongly to the sense of wanting to initiate something in a bold way. But Saturn is the opposite. Saturn is like, wait a minute. Saturn represents the old wise man or woman, the elder, the senex. And Mars is the toddler or the excited child. And so the two of them are extremely different. And in essence, Saturn is the elders. And what is the youth? Aries energy. And you might remember that in the Summer of Love and the Haight-Ashbury and the Vietnam War, it was a generational clash. What we call the boomers today, were the young people rebelling against their generation. And there was a huge amount of conflict between the agenda of what the young people wanted in the country of America and what the old established guard of Saturn wanted in the sign of Aries, also war. Some of you know there were a lot of protests during the Biden administration of student sit-ins and stuff in campuses. I don't expect that to get any better, but to intensify. Saturn in Aries versus the old guard is exactly what happened in my country of Canada during our election. We had the voting polls, the exit polls, the pre-polls showed that the young people under 55 were going conservative and they wanted change, but they were voting for a change in the way the government handles everything from crime to taxes to legislation restricting pipelines and developing our energy resources. And then the other guard, the liberals, they voted to keep things the same government, the same ministers, just the figurehead. Mark Carney is different. And what I think about that is that that's going to intensify. We will see for Canada, we've already seen it's a generational gap. It's an age gap. Sure, it's east-west, it's rural versus city, but it's more generational. And the polls are insane. Like young people said, the most important thing to them was affordability and the cost of housing. And the old people said, the 55 and olders, fighting Trump. I'm 63 and I didn't think that that was the main reason to vote for somebody. So let's go ahead and think about some keywords for you. What happens when you get the Aries story married to the independent, feisty toddler married? You're learning to walk. You know, Saturn says structure, get those legs moving, and the toddler's like figuring out how to do it. Is a toddler sprinting? No. But is a toddler sitting on his butt? No. It's those first baby steps. So there's something about incremental daring. I wrote the word incremental daring. These are coming up from me, not AI. You know, you want to do a lot of risk taking and daring in an incremental way. So instead of one big, I put all my money down on black, you know, on the roulette wheel, black number 20, I might incrementally take bets. I might incrementally take risks. So punctuated equilibrium, you know, a bunch of risks and then calm down and like see where things land. So you can be more risk taking in your Aries sky. And I'll show you that sky when we do your sign. You don't have to sit around and, you know, be Saturn, all super cautious and constricted. You can still take risks, but you're going to do it in a Saturnian manner, which is more cautious, more consideration of all matters, more, you know, slow. Okay, so change happens to another one of my favorite friends of mine. Her name is Morgana Ray. She was my teacher. Change happens at the speed of safety is one of her favorite expressions. Change happens at the speed of safety. Saturn is caution. Saturn is caution, safe, go slow. So but in Aries, we want the change. We are ready to do something new and fresh and completely different. It's the first sign of the natural zodiac. We want to spring out like it's springtime at the vernal equinox and do something fresh, do something different, something new. Again, that's why in our Canadian election, it was portending this young people wanting something new. And by the way, it will show up and probably before Saturn leaves Aries, we'll have another election and we will have the uprising of the youth vote yet again. Now, does not matter how many times you fall down, only how many times you get back up. I don't care if it's a horse you're falling off of or your scooter or you're falling off your, you know, walker, but it doesn't matter how many times you fall down. It matters how many times you get back up. Why did I say that? Because Saturn is this sort of endurance, persistence, long game guy. And of course, with the reckless and daring and bold and, you know, fiery Aries archetype, especially with the idea that Mars rules accidents, we can fall down. And we get back up again. Saturn says, don't worry about it. Try again. First you don't succeed, try again. Another great quote for how to look at the movement of Saturn through the sign of Aries. I also put the word, besides incremental daring, brave persistence. So can you be bravely persisting in areas of your life through till 2028? Can you do that bravery? And I also wrote down fear of confrontation. Mars is conflict, bold, and he rules Aries, war. And so we want to have a confrontation, but then, oh, wait a minute. Saturn is where we have fear and anxiety, where we are constraining something. And so sometimes the fear of confrontation can be an ally. Like I'd be afraid of a nuclear confrontation. It could actually work. Fear of reckless confrontation could be a useful tool for the world when it comes to wars in the world. But in your own life, be careful that the Saturn perseverance does not contract into melancholic, depressive, or fearful states regarding needing to push, confront, or dare somehow. Isn't it Brene Brown who has a book called Dare Something, Dare Greatly? It's probably a great book for this time. Courageous, that's the Aries archetype. Moderation, because Saturn is moderation. So can you have courageous moderation, incremental daring, and brave persistence in your Aries sky over the course of the next 3 years? I think so. And last thing I want to say, but I'm not going to cover that here. I'm going to do world events I'm going to do another video about Saturn for the world, because he's coming into Neptune. That's a little bit like Joni Mitchell's the paved over parking lot song. Na 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 na. They paved over, and yeah, it's like Paradise. They made Paradise a parking lot. That song by Joni Mitchell in the early 70s. That is so classic. Like Neptune is like paradise found or lost, and then Saturn is constriction. I'd say that Saturn and Neptune are Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden by the a-hole. Okay, so you know what I mean? So there's like a sense then of, where there is a forced pioneering, expulsion from the Garden of Eden, and that's the disappointment, disillusionment, disappearingness, Neptune, of some of the things that we imagine could be possible. And then Saturn is the reality check. On the other hand, Saturn and Neptune can be take your visions and your highest dreams, Neptune, and Saturn make them real. And that's going to be a theme for the summer as well. All right. Stock markets and economic downturns, maybe hitting some lows, all-time lows in the markets, could happen when you see not just Neptune, the delusional, irrational exuberance, with Saturn together. Saturn and Jupiter rule economic cycles, big cycles. And during their last two squares, Saturn and Jupiter led to economic stock market turbulence. I'm not going to give you the dates now. I'll do another video. That was just in the last year, bumps in the market. But this is a big one because now Saturn and Jupiter are squaring again, but in different signs. And that's happening this June, July. I think it's in July. And that's a big deal. I mean, Jupiter will have moved into Cancer. And, it's angular on the world axis energy to, the cardinal world axis energy of Jupiter in early Cancer squaring Saturn in early Aries. And that could be kind of the capstone of economic uncertainty this June and July, when stock markets may tumble or housing markets may correct or banking and bank news may suffer. Now, let's say that the tariff situation is going to be catastrophic or something. It's not all a bed of roses, that the United States has all these shipping containers coming in from China and they've all turned around. And then parts of manufacturers don't have pieces and parts, or businesses need things that they're depending on and they're not going to have them. And by the time it turns around and it's rectified, let's fix the problem, it's going to be a few months. So while I don't think this is a long-term downtrend, I think, and if you look at bear markets in general, for those of you who are financially astute, bears get some, bulls get some, and pigs get none, right? Be very cautious with your money, because we've been in a long overinflated bull run for a decade, and also quantitative easing and flooding the market with money also increased that. The rich got richer, poor didn't do anything. We may be in for a long stagnant market, but the turbulence, or bear market or stagnant market, but the turbulence may really hit in June and July. So I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not your doctor. I'm just an astrologer, but the sky looks like that could hit some real turbulence in the markets in the summertime, possibly. Long game 2026, things look a lot better. This summer it may look very turbulent. Now, let's go ahead and do your sign. I hope that was enjoyable. This is Ren Butler's The Archetypal Universe. I highly recommend this book. You can pair planets together in any which way you want. I thought it might be interesting to see what he says about Saturn sitting with Neptune, which can be about disillusionment and discontent and spiritual fall from, what you dreamed was possible. But he also says, living in the world, but not of it. He also says in the world, Saturn, but not of it, Neptune. But he also talks about Saturn and Neptune combined with, and this is combined with Jupiter, and it's a square to Jupiter. And some keywords he comes up for this summer square to Jupiter from Saturn and Neptune holding hands: philosophical and spiritual maturity, practical idealism and compassion, mystical glorification of balance and humility, and the positive sides of challenge or adversity. But on the dark side, because it is a square, deflated hopes and dreams, grandiose illusions and consequences. And this is world events, really. Jupiter, Saturn are not really as personal. I mean, they are, but you're going to see this as a world stage story. Grandiose illusions and consequences. Okay, so let's say Donald Trump has grandiose illusions that by smacking tariffs, it's not going to hurt the U.S. economy. That would be an example. An emphasis on hollow rituals and dogma in one's religious life. Hail Mary, Mother, I've sinned, whatever. I believe in God the Father, creator of heaven and earth. Whatever you say, like rote mantras without your heart in it, Mundane busyness, obscuring the depths of one's spiritual imprisonment. Oh, spiritual imprisonment, Saturn and Neptune. All right, so let's go ahead and start with Aries. This video shall be trundling along as the first of maybe 2 videos. Come join me on my webinar. You'll learn more about how to handle the summer with some of the major ways that Saturn intersects other planets in our sky, and how you can plan for that for your sign in the webinar. So you can get the replay if you can't make it live. It's free, but I'm going to ask for a donation if you can afford it. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, and at least pays for some of the creation time takes a long time, and the teaching time in the room for 2 hours takes a long time. And Buy Me a Coffee is just a tip jar. And I don't expect you to tip me any more than the minimum coffee, which is $5. So it's all good. If you want to tip me more after the webinar, it's not, you get in for free. The tip is optional, but it would be lovely if you guys could tip me. That would be a way to make me feel like I can get a lot of you to see this webinar, which is so important, I think, to how we all handle the ingress of Saturn. One more thing before we do all signs. When Saturn moved into Aquarius, we had the tiptoeing in, right, of the lockdowns during the pandemic. And so there was a sense of, oh, this is going to be a hardship. We're all going to have to stay home and flatten the curve. And then it kind of went out of Aquarius, and we all went, oh, we can go back to school, we can go back to work, we can get on planes again. Everybody was like saying, and we didn't have the vaccines yet. And we were just saying, oh, it's all good. We got this under control. And then Saturn went back into Aquarius, and then the lockdowns got stricter. There were regulations that if you weren't vaccinated, you were screwed. And that's where Saturn controlled the masses during a time of a pandemic. So you'll get a flavor of everything Saturn does when he moves into a sign, right? So paying attention, Saturn moved into Pisces. And when he did that first ingress for the first few months back in 2020, whatever it was, my brain won't remember. Let's say it was 22. Then we had stories like this. The submersible imploded. The Titanic submersible imploded. That's hardship in water. 700 people got capsized in a ferry of refugees crossing towards Greece. Catastrophic hardship with water. I'm going to say that the situation in Gaza is hardship with water because it's a shoreline, and they had tried to put that, that aid, the U.S. tried to put an aid, what do you call it, like a dock there, and that didn't work out. And hardship with water in terms of flooding. We've had tremendous flooding, but we saw the initial flavor of water hardship stories blasting through, including hurricane stories, in the first ingress of Saturn into the sign of water. Water, Saturn, it's in watery Pisces, the seas, and hardship with water. So now Saturn comes in. He's not always a nice guy. He comes into Aries. So we'll get a collective flavor, because Saturn rules war? Will it be constriction, constraint, or hardship around war? Or will it be an increasing protest amongst one generation against the other, the war generation, the ones who are the boomers now, who are in charge of making wars happen? Not only the boomers, I have to say that, but you get the idea. Trump is a boomer, Biden was a boomer. And the situation where there may be a shift away from those wars as there's constriction, but also elders clash with youth, Aries and Saturn. Ah, got it. So watch this summer for how that feels. Let's go ahead and start with Aries. Okay, guys, let's roll. I just was drawing the chart for you and simplifying. It's coded as a Sag rising, but that's not where it's going to stay. Just look at all those planets. So here we have the ingress. This is a general overview of the ingress chart before we move into the all signs. I want you to notice that we really have 00 Saturn happening around 9:11 p.m. in Vancouver, Canada. There's going to be shortly after midnight on the 25th for Eastern Standard, and of course in the wee hours in England. So of the 25th. So the 24th, 25th is time zone dependent. We'll see Saturn ingress and come into close contact with Neptune, where he'll be hovering together with Neptune all summer long and through till September 1st. And you'll notice that as he comes into this part of the chart, he does have a pretty friendly vibe with Pluto. And so these two are in what we call a sextile. And there's a friendly cooperation between the two. You'll notice that Venus is dealing with chironic war wounds over here, and she is the goddess of peace, doing her best to bring it. So we may see Saturn constriction or formal agreements or putting things on the table, making some sort of constraints. Now, Saturn is borders and boundaries as well. In times of war, we all know what borders and boundaries are. They become the redrawing of the geopolitical map. And in this case, the Crimea, Ukraine, Russia map is probably going to redraw itself this summer. But also, unfortunately, as I said about a year or two ago, I said Israel will annex Gaza, and they've already made announcements that they're going in to occupy Gaza. It will no longer belong to the Palestinian people. There will be redraws. I have a feeling that they'll just take, the top half. They want to put a Ben Gurion Canal through to rival the Suez. They always needed northern Gaza to make it feasible, and maybe give the Rafah area on the Egyptian border to whatever remnants of people are left. 90% of housing has been destroyed. So yes. So that sad story finds new boundaries and borders, especially with Neptune, the god of the sea, and Gaza is a sea edge of the ocean territory. And Pluto is a full agreement with all of this. He does rule the death and destruction, chaos and crisis stories. When I look over here, I wanted to mention that I didn't mean to leave Uranus and Mercury in the story. I'm going to delete them in a minute, but this is the sun, Hygeia, health and health matters, and Icarus, who fell from the sky. Now, I want to be really clear. I've been talking about Icarus falling from the sky in another video recently, and I just heard that there's going to be a spaceship that belonged to Russia, 53 years old spaceship that was supposed to go to Venus. It's going to fall into our atmosphere sometime in the middle of May. Well, there's Icarus falling from the sun, right, the sky. And you're going to see that this Icarus story will have come into being, if we're going to go back in time, when the sun and Icarus were actually over here in Taurus. Sometimes it's literally helicopters, planes, or in this case, for a spaceship debris falling from the sky in the most populated areas of the earth, which is pretty rotten. This over here is Pythia, the oracle of Delphi, who sniffed the volcanic fumes and could tell the future and forecast predictions for wars and stuff with Jupiter, king and leader, sun. Here's the thing. I think this might look like somebody who was foretold to have a health challenge, Hygeia, who is a world leader. Gemini is where the son of Donald Trump sits. So many tarot card readers and astrologers have been foretelling April and May to be where the Ides of April and May for his health already, whether it's natural health problem or not. So there's more of that story still happening in our sky, just to bring our conscious awareness to that, right? Doesn't mean anything is going to happen. This is a mini grand trine that's forming between Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and in the sky at the ingress, the sun. But later on, when Uranus enters this part of the sky, we're going to have that mini grand trine with Uranus, and I'll be doing a whole deep dive video on that because it's incredibly rare and extremely powerful. But we have almost a flavor of solar energy around health and health matters, make America healthy again, but someone falling from power falling from the sky. The son of Robert Kennedy Jr. is Mercury's sun is Capricorn, not this energy. So I'm not sure what kind of health figure might fall from the sky as well, but we'll leave it at that. And finally, Mars. Mars here. Well, Mars is the Lord of Aries, and he tells this whole ingress what's up. And he flows to the whole sign house, and he's in a trine to Venus. Well, Mars trining Venus can bring solutions for war. So what I'm going to say is I really think that with the Mars-Venus trine upon the ingress of Neptune, sorry, let me say it again for my video guy. What's happening as Saturn at the end of May enters into Aries and will be here for the entire summer is that he starts his ingress in a trine to Venus, the goddess of war, in the sign of war. The goddess, no, I can't get this right. One more try. Okay, what happens when Saturn ingresses into Aries at the end of May and will spend the whole summer in Aries? Well, at the ingress, Mars, the god of war, in the sign of rulers and leaders, Leo, is trining Venus in his war kingdom of Aries. This could hint at Saturn constricting the end, bringing an end to the war wounds that we've all experienced with the situation in Russia and Ukraine, as well as the Middle East, with a redrawing of the geopolitical boundaries and landscapes, because Saturn is the architect and the designer of new borders and boundaries. And we will see some of those themes emerge between May 25th and September the 1st. Whew, okay, I hope my video guy catches that. I should remind him of that. Okay, now we're doing every sign. And anyway, those wars are stale dated. They're old. They all came off of different cycles. And the Gaza war came off of the eclipse to the nation of Israel back in October 2023. All right, here we are. We're starting with Aries. I'm not even going to give my opinion about these things anymore because who cares, right? I'll try to sound neutral, but it's a very hard time being neutral about what's happened in the territory of Gaza and the West Bank, actually. All right, Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. You're listening for your sun, guys. Listen for like your career and purpose. Moon, home, and home-based matters. And rising, anything about your life. It's the avatar in the simulation in the matrix. It's your game-playing character. So if you want to listen for all three, give it a try. But here we have it, Aries, sun, moon, and rising. First of all, as this ingress begins, and it would be nice if we moved into the right day or into the right moment. So I'll go to the 25th, but it's 24th, 25th. As Saturn is ingressed into zero Aries, you're going to have a fresh new start like you did in 1996 to 1999. That's the most recent comparison to this story, or 67 to 69. And you want to start like a little toddler taking those baby steps to something fresh and new in your life. But Saturn says, take it slow, incrementally, create daring. And what are my keywords? Courageous moderation and incremental daring. All right. And brave persistence. At what? At anything that you want in life. Your sun around your career matters, your moon around where you live, your home, and of course your ascendant, anything about your life. Now you've got a Neptune problem for disillusionment here, but Saturn's also capable of saying, can you make some of your dreams real? Can you put a kind of scaffold or structure to some visions, goals, and dreams and ideal glamorous ideas that you have, because Saturn will try to bring structure there. He will give it his best shot. And technically, when Saturn was moving through Pisces, what did you do? Some of you got very deeply spiritual or built a kingdom in isolation alone, or maybe you even got a more solidification of borderless income, foreign marketplaces, and digital revenue. Those are all the things that could have happened as Saturn structured away your 12th house as an Aries sun, moon, and rising. But now he's in the first house with the energy of this ingress. Oh, and I want to get rid of Mercury and I want to get rid of Uranus. They're just distractions on the sky. Give me a minute. We don't need them. Structures, my whale software. Let's give you a shot to actually show me what I'm looking for. Wow, guys, it's just the software and the screen sharing doesn't work the right way when I'm doing what I'm doing. Don't mind me. I'll get it fixed. I don't want them in the mix. Preferences. Okay. I've never had this happen before. I just want to go to one particular section. I'll be right back. This is crazy. So on an ingress chart, I don't like to use things that are in a house one over, called an inversion, because they're there but on the sidelines, not directly involved. Okay, so but I'd say, yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone. So I mean, you could say some prizes financially upon the ingress in the lives of Aries, as Mercury is news and surprises Uranus. And so there is that. I'll just say that is there, but let's focus on the main story. You know, Venus is trying to help you heal a wound, maybe about how you look, maybe about your body, maybe about your sense of who you are, some kind of existential crisis of identity. And Venus is coming into Chiron to see if they can work out a deal. And the flow to Mars can be about your sexual identity, your entrepreneurial identity, your romantic identity, a relationship with a child. And somehow Saturn wants to bring you forms and structures to support your romantic, sexual, children, and fertility identity, including health challenges with fertility as well, because Hygeia is talking to Saturn on the ingress. Well, Mars is in the house of baby making. So some of you might be having some new directions that are supportive of you finding new ways to be better equipped for baby making or fertility with you and your partner, or a sexual rejuvenation could be going on here by something that you're doing regarding your sex life and health, or those are matters that I could see going on in the sky. One thing I would say is you do have this energy of the way Pluto supports this particular ingress. Pluto says, let's do this right. Form and structure and new identity. You want to do things incrementally, steadfast, but with a bit of courage, bold, daring, and moderation, somewhere between sprinting and crawling, right? Walking steadily forward. And I'll bring you more career gains. I'll bring you great career gains. I'll make you richer than you ever thought you could be. I'll give you wealth and power in your career. I'll give you influence, but steady as she goes, step by step, you need to make the changes. And you need to have the bold daring and the courage over time. And the time is 3 years. Now, you can't compare this, guys, to 1996 to 1999 because we weren't in the same sky. We didn't have Pluto there, but we still have a feeling of what we did back then. I'm an Aries sun. I'm an Aries moon, 96 to 1999. I remember exactly what I did. I built a business. I built my psychic readings business. I'm a psychic medium. I would talk to dead people for clients, and I started the business. Well, it's just literally perfect. It's exactly what I did back then. It's my son, so it's my career, right? Funny enough, it also included a move to a new home in which we built the home or constructed more 2/3 of the home. So my moon is the home. My partner, my husband and I, we've got a new home and we did a massive reno. Saturn is construction, by the way, workers, laborers. And I also started a business. That's my son. So go back, if you can remember, 96 to 97, what were you guys up to? Now, I'm going to continue forward, but now I need some kombucha or water or something. Let's go at least 2 more signs before I get out of here. Let's keep going forward. Whew, I'm having a hot flash too. I think I need to open the window. Let's keep on keeping on. What about the fact that we see Saturn talking to Hygeia and the sun? And Icarus is something falling from the sky. I don't think any of us are going to fall from the sky. So let's just say, where can you implement better health changes for your body or your career or your home? And there may be a possible change of neighborhood or something along the way you do your daily life, working out at the gym, to be better equipped for better health, because Sun Hygeia would like that for you. And Jupiter says blessings, but you do the blessings for health-related matters in the neighborhood, in the zone of your everyday life. All of those factors are there. If you want to move your home, for example, you might find a blessed new home in a blessed new neighborhood under a proud flag. Inside joke for Canadians. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do Taurus, but first I actually need water. So I'll be right back. All righty. I got not water. I ended up getting this tasty probiotic, no sugar added, cranberry turmeric. Yum. Kindred Cultures, Canadian. I'm 90% sure. Made with love in British Columbia. So water, kefir, live active cultures, filtered water, cane sugar, cranberry juice, lemon juice, ginger juice, turmeric, black pepper. Ooh. Okay. I have to say it's very, very fresh, refreshing. So there you go. And I'm drinking it in my glass. Okay, let's roll. Let's roll it into the next sign. Sorry, guys. That was. Oh, am I recording? Yeah, I am. Good. I thought maybe I wasn't. All right. Let's like talk to myself all the time anyway. So why not continue doing that? Try living alone for 7 years. You talk to yourself when you live alone for 7 years. I'm not alone now. I'm sort of in a relationship. Okay. So let's roll. Let's move on to the next sign. Don't forget, we're going to go deeper in the webinar. Please join me. It's free. If you want to tip me, you can, but otherwise, I would love to see you in the webinar and learn about how to handle some of the earth-shaking transits are coming up this summer with this ingress. OMG. Taurus, sun, moon, rising sign. Please listen to the intro to understand how to differentiate each. This happens to be a story that you live through 96, spring of 96 to spring of 99, more or less. So you can compare notes, or you can go back to 67 to 69 and compare notes. But here we are again. Saturn is moving through your 12th house. This is a subtle place for sure. So one thing he's good for here is solitude. He's the Lord of solitude in the place of solitude. And your alone time can be very spiritual and very defining for you over the next 3 years. If you want to have some of that brave persistence and incremental daring, it may be because you're tackling a spiritual path, looking for spiritual liberation. Saturn can be the sage-like wise man or woman. And given Chirons here and Venus, you might find a female therapist, guide, mentor, or healer or teacher to support some of your deeper soul work. Especially look for evidence of that this summer. But because the 12th house is also travel to distant shores, because it's also connected to money you earn through foreign marketplaces, you work for a foreign company, you have digital borderless income and revenue because you're online, then you're going to see new forms and new structures coming into place to support that kind of digital revenue. And I think for some of you, you may move towards new sources of money from distant places because the Sun-Jupiter combination in the second house, more or less sextiling the ingress. It certainly says Pluto in your 10th house. This summer is the summer of increasing your abundance financially, but some of it could be also through the career, power, earnings, second house. And you may be feeling like your wings are melting. You're earning money, but your wings are melting. Icarus is in your second house of earnings. And therefore, it could be a good time for one, fiscal hygiene. Clean it up. Do some bookkeeping. Look at your money. Where did you put it? You know, it's not in a piggy bank. Like, do a bookkeeping angle here. Hygeia is hygiene in the house of money, savings, and earnings. You need to account for, like a bookkeeper, your resources in some way. Pluto wants to power you up in your career, maybe make you wealthy. And Jupiter would agree with that. And so there's a lot of stuff around your reputation, your career, your money, your earnings, and then Saturn. Well, Saturn is what you do behind the scenes, right? Whether you're doing backroom deals and negotiations to get a new job that pays you more, whether you're doing some contemplation about your spiritual relationship to money, earnings, and wealth, you know, what lessons did you learn as a child that hold you back, especially given that Mars is traveling through the house of childhood. And it might be like, holy man, where did I get that belief about money? Oh my God, that my mother used to say that, or my grandmother used to say that. I've got to get rid of it. I'm holding myself back. When it comes to money, you need to really rethink a few of your stories because the ingress Saturn is talking to the sun in the house of earnings. But on the other hand, some of you may also quit an addiction. Saturn is like a hard stop. He's like a wall. It's like you're going to hit a wall around Neptune, addictive substances, Venus, pleasure, Chiron, the wound, smacking into the stellium in your second house of what you stick in your nose and what you stick in your mouth. Time for a change. Any of you are dealing with that? A lot of Tauruses have been trying to figure some stuff out there with Neptune, maybe like looking more squarely at what you do for your pleasurable escapism, and maybe it's time to make a change. So you might make some hard stops here around self-undoing habits, patterns, addictions, etc., substance disuse, misuse, or whatever. You could change your home. Mars will say, hey, I'm in the house of home, property, and real estate. And the ingress is saying, well, do you want to move to a distant shore? Do you want to move to the other side of the country? Do you want to move to a distant land? Mars is a bit of an expat signature sometimes in the fourth house, or an exile from the homeland. It's possible you may get an opportunity through your spouse or some business partner. Mars rules your seventh house to make that change. And I didn't actually cover the Capricorn story, so I'm going to save it for another time, I think. But I'll just say, hey, you know, Mars, let's Saturn lets Mars have VIP treatment in the ninth house. And there's a possibility again of the foreign energy picking up something for you. Either that or you might want to go back to school. So you could go back to school, re-educate, or get your education down pat in order to succeed in your career. Some of you might do that and think about that this summer. Otherwise, well, I don't know. Some of you might want to travel, might go on a big foreign adventure, a pilgrimage, the Capricorn sky, find yourself in some kind of willing participation in a spiritual quest or in a move to another place or quite a long time on the road, so to speak, away from home, and look for what happens this summer to see if any of that is true. Again, we're getting a foretaste this summer through to September 1st of the real story that we're setting into motion February of 26 to April of 28. So for Gemini, and you can listen for sun, moon, and rising, sun being career, moon being home, rising being your all-purpose avatar in the simulation, you could find yourself looking at this like you might have in 1996 to 1999 or 1967 to 1969. You might look at this as a time in which there's constriction or constraint around friendships and belonging to groups of friends. Sometimes Saturn here will pare our friends away so that we have nothing but the best, only the long game friends, the ones that will be with you when you are a little old lady and man. And in that regard, all the rest of the acquaintances and the frivolous and the ones don't have the backbones to last will go away. So you think about it in terms of a pruning of the friends so that you're thriving in the friends that you choose to associate with. In this little transit may show you this summer. You may move away, or a friend may move away from you, or it might be distance from a friend. And notice if that's true, that you are paring down friends by circumstance or choice or whatever. An elder sibling may feel like a burden, the one above you. Oh my God, that's my elder brother or sister, the one above me, just one above me by age. It's really a hardship in my life right now. That's the 11th house. Now, you want to bring structure and form to your money and earnings from your career specifically. So Saturn has been going through your 10th house of career for the last 3 years, and that's been like being a master, being an authority, reaching the top of some situation of success. But it doesn't always work. Like Kamala Harris, kind of didn't get the presidency during that transit, because Saturn's also realistic. And he's like, well, do you really want this job? Did she really want the job? Or, do you really want this level of success? I mean, how do you want it to be different? Because Saturn, well, he may give you the structure and mastery and authority last 3 years in your career. He's also coming down the mountain from the peak. And it's kind of like, what's the next valley so I can climb a new mountain? So a lot of Geminis are rethinking their career. And as Saturn goes through this 11th house, I would say that yes, the next 3 years, but more importantly, this summer, a real serious and realistic consideration of your longer range goals and dreams that you can achieve in courageous moderation. Yes. And also my key words, I sound like a sloganeer: incremental daring and brave persistence. All of these energies together, but what is it you want to apply those to over time? Because you may reframe and redirect and restructure your long range goals and plans for your life, especially as it pertains to the way money comes to you and success comes to you through the arc of your career and reputation. Second house from the 10th, it's the gains of the 10th. Now, if you did a great job when Saturn was in your 10th house, now he's in second from the 10th. So you're going to get the monetary gains, the gains of success financially from the hard work that you did over the last 3 years, March of 23 till the summer's testing of a new story. So in some ways, Saturn can be being not a taskmaster, but a reward maker. Let me know what happens. It's true for all of us that as Saturn moves to Aries, he's giving us the rewards of what he accomplished while he moved through the Pisces part of our sky. With this ingress, we see a lovely trine from Mars to Venus. This could indicate a positive change of neighborhood, moving to a new neighborhood. It could indicate some success in the social media, digital online world. You're trying to get healthy right now. You've got Hygeia on the ascendant, or with the sun, a healthy career, or moon, a healthy home. And you're working to be more abundant, healthy, and prosperous, says Hygeia and Jupiter. And, looking at the way this lines up, I'd also say that a change of neighborhood or a change of home in a local neighborhood may be the ticket to being much more healthy, as one way of coding the sky. For Mars rules the sixth house of rental properties, and it'd likely be more likely a new home for rental reasons rather than purchasing. But you never know. And I'll say one thing: Mars will give VIP treatment to Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn gives VIP treatment to Mars in Capricorn, right? So Mars is exalted in Saturn in Saturn's Capricorn home. Saturn's Capricorn home. I talk a lot. Sometimes my brain is moving faster than my mouth. So you could get a mortgage. This is financing, banking, and all of that. You could get that. You could get that for a change of home as well. But change of home, that may be a big one that could definitely show up here. The other thing I like about this sky for you is that if you want to make some dreams real, when it comes to the way you envision your forward 5-year plan or 10-year plan, I think that the Saturn Neptune, if handled well, can give you a clue of the structures and the pace and the realistic way to go about getting that done. And I wonder if being sober-minded and realistic about the kinds of friends you hang out with helps heal the unbelonging wound in your social circles. That's another story as well. Like, I don't need to fit in everywhere. I can find where I feel like I'm naturally with my tribe. And Saturn makes you very realistic and sober-minded and not so dazed by wish fulfillment thinking about trying to belong to groups of belonging that don't suit you. Yeah, because that's been a real crisis for you, or a real wounded energy since 2019. Hey, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Well, it's the story, isn't it? It happens to be that Saturn last ingressed into your 10th house of career and reputation way back in 1996, 97, 98, right till spring of 99, those 3 years. So can you compare? Or you can go back to 67 to 69, because it's an attempt for mastery, authority, reaching a high peak, a mountaintop of success. But you want to be authoritative and masterful at what it is you're going to actually be succeeding at. And so you would have been putting the work in, right, to get to this part of the story as Saturn moved through Pisces 2023 March until this point. So you did something that maybe you went to school, maybe you aligned with Dharma, maybe you had teachers, maybe you learned things, but you're ready now to step in and up another level to a greater success than you normally would experience. And you can only experience this career success once every 29 years. So this next 3 years is important for you career-wise. With this movement of Saturn, sometimes you're going to feel burdened by your career. Success has a cost, right? It's the golden cage, the gilded cage can be a challenge. I have a progressed Gemini sun for my career, and I felt like, yes, I got super successful. Well, Saturn moved through my 10th house sign of Pisces as a sun in Gemini progressed, but I also felt sometimes like I had no life, no work-life balance, overwork, right? So you're going to succeed in the next 3 years, but you might have to balance that out because Saturn is a slave driver, so to speak. All right, so he does connect to that archetype of the taskmaster, or the master with a Zen stick, whack, and get yourself working to succeed up here. So be careful for burnout. Neptune can make, of course, some of your dreams come true for your career path. Venus and Chiron, they're both in a flow to Mars. Maybe healing a chironic wound about being on purpose, finding your true calling, using your true gifts and talents. And you're now able to begin to make money, because there's nothing like a trine between Venus and Mars is in the earnings house, for you to be a self-starter, an entrepreneur, an independent person, or to be able to gin up a lot of passion, excitement, and enthusiasm for making money and being a superstar of long game career success. Nothing is overnight here. It's all the grinding every day, a little bit more. You've got that courageous moderation and incremental daring and brave persistence in order for you to make a mark in the world and leave a legacy. For Saturn asks you, what will you leave behind? Pluto agrees. He's flowing from the chunky money house, get thee to a, passive income, investment income storyline, but that's good for your money. And watch for your health. Not watch for your health. That's the wrong message. in the house of hospitals or in the house of sometimes activating health matters, you have Hygeia, and yet it's all in a flow to Saturn Pluto. So you might make some big different changes in the way you run your career that can improve not only your downtime and what you wish to do in your home alone and your solitude, but also incremental changes to better your health through the way you change the work story and the earning story. So there you go. Let me know how you do that over the next months this summer, through to May, September 1st. And remember that this is playing out until April of 2028. And then we have you Martian folk here. I know you're Leos, you're kings, but you got Mars firing you up. Okay, let's talk about how back in 1996 to 97, and before that, 67 to 69, Saturn was traveling through Aries, putting a damper on or giving you constructive feedback on your spiritual beliefs, your philosophies, your spiritual life. Father figures could be some hardship here. Same with the Cancers if you have father figures in your life, but for you too. And also maybe a movement towards wanting to create new structures and forums to do with learning. If you went to university or college and you didn't like what you studied and you wish you'd study something new, that's a classic story in this kind of chart. And you may, formally return to school sometime in the next 3 years. Look for a taste of that possibility this summer. You might also want to redesign your spiritual life, find a teacher, guide, mentor, healer, wise man, wise woman to support your spiritual growth in this lifetime. I wonder too if you might make some major decisions because of Mars trining Venus regarding changes in your life you wish to make, certainly in your work. Saturn is the ruler of your sixth house of work, and he exalts Mars there. It could indicate going into a deeper layer of connection to your long range purpose, but on a practical note, getting work in a foreign country or foreign land. Having this Pluto agreement with Saturn could transform your marriage completely, bring it into more spiritual alignment, or long-term relationships transforming, or court cases and legal battles powering up for you in a positive way this summer. And you might want to do a little bit of watch where your wings are melting in the 11th house. I mean, that's to do with your long distance, your friendship circles, a sibling one older, things to do with your earnings and the way you earn money. Maybe you need to do a little bit of reassessment of some of that. Jupiter wants it to be a good, prosperous, and bounteous. So you have to inspect what you might be doing that doesn't make it those things. A little hygiene on your earning strategies as well. And I wonder if you might constrict some of your friendship circles to find a tribe that feels in alignment with your spiritual philosophy of life. There may be a bit of this summer, a kind of impact on your groups of belonging as you move into more friendship circle, belonging, networking energies that are more deeply aligned with your spiritual beliefs and philosophies about life. Well, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, are you ready for some incremental daring and some brave persistence in your 8th house? So it's about your marriage monies. I share money with my spouse, business partner monies, money that comes from investments and inheritances, money that comes from an insurance or tax rebate. You get the idea that it's money you don't earn that usually comes in a chunk. And you are going to also look at this as the house of the esteem of others, and also occult and magical, supernatural stuff. Mystical, magical, supernatural, occult arts. Now, Saturn is structure and form, and it could literally be time to bring some new form and structure to some of the money you have in investments, or some of the money you have from an inheritance, or the way you and your partner structure your joint finances, and making some changes and structures this summer in that area of your life. Now, because you also have a Venus Chiron story happening in the Aries sky, there may have been some woundedness around those sorts of monies, some kind of chironic wound. With a solar figure at the top of the sky, you may get some support from a boss, a father figure, someone in your life to shore up some financial resources, or a sign-on bonus or a severance package at the end of a job or the beginning of a new one, that really gives you a financial glow. I like that Pluto is in the house of work, flowing to the 10th house stellium. Well, we have some intermediary support from Saturn in your 8th. It simply says you can definitely look at some financial upgrades over time with your incremental daring and brave persistence and courageous moderation. I kind of wonder when I see bookkeepers and accountants, they always fit into the 8th house in my client practice. So they have planets there, to do that work. And if you have never had a forensic audit or a bookkeeper look at your books or someone help you, an accountant, it might be time to really start looking at a different strategy for your money, or have a second look at it, or find out new ways to structure it. Now, Saturn is also talking to, well, not really, but Mars is actually witnessing Saturn's ingress from Leo in a trine, fire trine. And then we say, well, what does he say? Given Jupiter's complicit, do you want to move your home to a foreign country? Do you want to change your home? Do you want to buy a home in a distant shore? Do you want to finance a new property with a spouse? Do you want to relocate your rental property? All these are stories that could be happening this summer for you. Mars is really good in this position at going very deep. He's saying, go under the hood of your life. Look at your psychological stuff. Look at your spiritual life. Look at what you are not seeing about your own worst enemy, how you can sabotage your own life. So look under the hood a little bit here to see, especially from your childhood, what ways you might be misfiring from old programs that belong to mom and dad, or granddad and grandma, who knows, especially when it comes to misfiring on your financial stories. Finally, I would add to that, I think, let me take a look, that the Capricorn sky is your romantic and entrepreneurial house and children. So I think that because Saturn is going to always give VIP treatment to Mars, and Mars, by the way, will actually, well, that's another story, meet the sun in the heart of the sun in your 5th house, which is interesting for some Virgos for fertility stories. But I like the idea that you can take this sky and you can translate the money story to more entrepreneurial instincts and less boss work employment if you wanted. You could also translate this to a real willingness to upgrade your romantic life with more of a tantric element, more of a spiritual or red tantric or deeper emotional intimacy within the context of a romantic story. That's another way this could work out. All right. And that you'll feel that this summer, right? Up leveling the romance is something much more emotionally vulnerable, much more intimate. So Libra, sun, moon, and rising, I'm not going to do anything calamitous. We're going to keep getting right through your sign without a break. It looks to me like in 1996 to 1999 and 1967 to 1969, Saturn is moving through your 7th house. It's going to test your relationships, especially your significant long-term committed love. If you're single, you meet someone with a significant age difference, 5, 6, 7 years up or below you, below or above. If you meet someone new, it's karmic under this story. It's got maybe a reason, season, and a time. If you meet someone new, you meet somebody steadfast, somebody enduring, somebody who wants to go the distance. However, Saturn is also in his detriment here. It's a sign of his fall. So new relationships that begin under this may have a fatal flaw. So be cautious, especially Neptune means rose-colored glasses. And so new relationships have some intensity around them this summer. And yet be careful for what you're not seeing. Yet you may be healing a chironic wound about love, romance, and sexuality this summer with placement of Pluto, Chiron, Venus. Mars says we want to have more fun with friends and groups of belonging in the context of significant relationship, but Saturn's a bit of a downer. He's very serious here. Sometimes it means your partner is going through a Saturnian time. So 2 things happen. You got 3 years of Saturn transiting here. Testing this summer, does the relationship feel burdened, constricted, and hard? Do you feel like Saturn's testing it to see if it can last? But your partner may be going through a difficult time. They may be burdened. They may be feeling some hardship. And it may not be about you. They could be sad, depressed, anxious, melancholic, etc. My girlfriend is a Virgo rising, and as Saturn was going through Pisces, her partner of 8 years, his mom died, and that was a big deal. And he was going through a lot of sadness and heartbreak and burdened hardship energies. And she was there to witness him in it. So it's not always about you. It's not always your story. Your other people are having Saturnian narratives. And if it is a significant long-term love partner being burdened by some difficulty, I'd also note that, by approaching their challenges in a new way, you could heal your wound when it comes to committed love, because Venus and Chiron are working to heal that for you. There's an attempt to support you in that healing. You're getting the gains of what Saturn did in your sixth house. If you've been working hard, like grinding away, with endurance in some kind of job or work situation, and probably you have for the last 3 years, now you begin to see some payoff in the seventh house, more clients, larger, more structured way of reaching an audience or a marketplace. Those things can happen here in the next 3 years. Saturn gives VIP treatment to Capricorn when Mars visits, and there's something about that I need to note for you. I would like to point out. So because Mars is, the Lord of the ingress, Saturn may do a tit for tat and say, hey, how about this land, home, property, real estate? And it's very possible that you may be able to secure this summer, through till September 1st, some opportunity regarding land, home, property, real estate. And the word new, maybe. And we'll see what happens, buying, selling, maybe even renting. But there's some focus on the idea of home and where you rest your head at night that could have a payoff for you. And Saturn is like the buyer or the legal contract regarding the sale or the rental contract, etc., in this chart. Because Saturn is in a sextile, whole sign sextile to Jupiter up here in the house, ninth house, and that Jupiter opens up the rental agreements of the sixth. I like also the idea of there's a stellium here, hygiene, sure, falling from the sky. Have your wings been melting, Libra, when it comes to spiritual belief, philosophy, dharma, feeling like you're on purpose, book publishing, publications, foreign land, shores, and travel. But melting wings are up here. Do you need to do some repair to make a more healthy approach to your spiritual philosophy? And Jupiter loves being up here. He's very naturally at the pulpit. And so where do you want to thrive in publications, book publishing, travel, journeys abroad, all of that stuff, especially with groups of people, right here. All right. I have a girlfriend. She's going to do a pilgrimage kind of thing, like she did the El Camino. She wrote a book about the Camino, and she's going to do a thing in England this October. That's a classic. That sky is a classic story of where perhaps she will do it. But also I'm wondering about the Saturn. I have some constrictions there as well. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising sign. It is very interestingly a story of work. This is your sixth house of work. Maybe you felt like chironically wounded there, maybe since 2019. Maybe you're not in the right job. Mars is in your career house. Saturn's entering the story. Well, kind of like this, though, because it could open up a new job for you, a new line of work and career change even. And yet Saturn brings you the discipline, structure, backbone to be like persistent bravely and dare incrementally, and be moderate with courage. And so how you make the changes in the work vis-a-vis the career and reputation story is over time, over the next 3 years, maybe not all at once, but healing is on the horizon. Also in your financial matters, especially the money you would invest or your mortgage payments or the money you share with a spouse. So career, earnings, job, and long game money. With Jupiter and Sun, this is an inheritance energy from a father figure, especially trining Pluto. I say this to all Scorpios: father figures and inheritances are in the sky still for you. And so what does Saturn add to it? The Lord of time and karma. I don't know. We shall see. He can allow you to incrementally pay off debts as well, being able to chunk down the debt you have and remove it from your life. You're getting the gains of the fifth. If you're an artist, or creative, an entrepreneur, or you listen to your muse on the daily, whatever you were doing as Saturn was going through your fifth house is giving you the gains in the sixth house. And if you were struggling to sort of raise those children. It felt like a burden, or get that romantic thing going with your partner. And it was like 3 years behind since 23 and working it. Now you're done with that, but all the energy you put into that, you can now translate to the sixth house, which is those rental opportunities, debt removals, a debt repayment, indebtedness, servicing the debt, real and karmic. And you can also add pets. Now, some of you will get a pet from this because Saturn is sextiling Pluto in the house of the home. And the stuff with the eighth house indicates a reincarnation of a passed away pet coming into your life in the summer for a lot of you. By September 1st, in comes a pet. Now, Neptune is a little bit like confusing sometimes, so be careful that you get the right animal. And Venus is in the sign of her detriment, and Saturn is fallen. So I say it's not bad to get a pet. Really be careful that you check out all the details of this animal's, what do you call it? Pedigree, its health, where it's come from. I don't know. I don't think it's a rescue though. It could be, but I see a pet coming in for some of you. New rental property opportunities as well, to rent a property out as a landlord or vice versa this summer. And Mars is going to make changes in that career, no doubt about it. Change of neighborhood, exaltation home of Mars is the third house. If you do change your home or area of living, it's not going to be a big one. It'll be more like a new neighborhood, not a new country, that kind of thing. This summer, you might see evidence for that. And I always say, go back to 1996 to 1999 and 1967 to 69. It's not the same sky, but it's still Aries in the sixth house. Finally, Aries, Saturn in your sixth house in Aries. Health. Sometimes karmic health challenges can come up. Did you have health challenges 96 to 99 if you were alive, right? Did you have any challenges with your health? My son's a Scorpio rising. I think that was his asthma phase. He went through a phase with asthma. And now I remember that he would have been 6, 7, 8 years old. He had an inhaler. So he went through, and then it went away. His asthma disappeared. So more or less. So a lot of you could have like a temporary 2 to 3 year health challenge here. It's kind of a karmic one. Don't worry about it. It'll go away eventually. But I'm just giving you the heads up about that as well. Come to my webinar. We're going to cover how to handle the whole summer. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. So first of all, the fun house is your fifth house. Sex, fun, play, pleasure, enjoyment, inspiration, enthusiasm, innocence, and wonder, and awe, and childlike pleasure play. And all of a sudden, grumpy Saturn gets in here, like the Scrooge, the miser, the old guy. It's not an easy transit for most people because Saturn is grumpy here, but he's in a fire trine to your sign, which is not so shabby. But I would say, okay, you could have hardship with your children. Your children go through a difficult time. Your relationship to your children can feel burdensome or constricted in the next 3 years. Look for early evidence of that in the summer. On the other hand, Saturn brings form and structure as well to your sex life, and you might get involved romantically with someone with a significant age difference in you, 6 or 7 years younger or older. You might also find that you want to bring new structures to your creativity. This is great for someone who wants to grind into with brave persistence and incremental daring, creating an entrepreneurial business, which is a fifth house story. And even to the point where Neptune says, can you make an incremental gain, but make your dream come real? Is there always something you want to do, a business you wanted to start? Pluto is wealth in the house of the social media, websites, digital media, online world. So any Sagittarius who want to start an entrepreneurial gig, this is good to go. Test the waters, see what happens this summer. Get the lay of the land. If you have a sexual wounding, like something like, you never really got over it. You really have an issue with sex. I don't know, you're a sexaholic, or you have no sex life, or there's something wrong there with the romantic sexual energy. Chironic wounds since 2019. Venus is there in a detriment. What is it that this guy is trying to do? Well, it's trying to address it by bringing your serious, realistic eyeglasses and putting them on and saying, okay, let's figure this out. Because, you do have wings melting in the marriage house. So if you're married, this is a little bit intense, or if you wanted to be married, that your wings have melted. Sexual health is important when you look at the sky. Okay, so keep that in mind. I think that Pluto, though, from the third house, holy man, please start your own business if you haven't been thinking of it. And you might even find that you're going to have some luck, Jupiter, in reaching an audience marketplace for your wares or your business. Mars is the owner of the story. He's in the ninth house. This is Dharma, alignment with purpose, the meaning of life, true north. Yay. But if you're single, and some of you will be single, and you're looking for love, perhaps new love can emerge because you are busy on a journey to a distant shore, usually a foreign land, as the ninth house means that, or you're in a professorial or educational setting, like a high level education, and you can meet that person there. This could stimulate that, and you could put new bones, meat on the bones of your love life at last. But there is going to be probably an age difference here or a karmic connection. And because Mars exalts Capricorn, which Saturn gives them permission to stay, there may be a real love up in the earning sector, where by kind of listening to the muse, putting some forms and structures in place, like getting incorporated or building the website or launching the brand or whatever you're doing, you can really find that you have some exaltation of earnings coming through the sky. And the beginning of that exaltation maybe starting to show up this summer, where you start to notice, oh my God, I'm making money at this thing. How cool is that? Hmm. So much I could say, but I think that's what I've got for you. If you're working on legal court cases and battling in court, Mars is your lawyer in the ninth, and Jupiter is justice prevails, and the deals are made, and the mediation works out. So this will also open up some successful mediation that allows for some good luck, the house of good luck, good fortune, to bless you in legal dealings, especially if you're doing legal dealings regarding things to do with fifth house matters, like custody of your children or situations regarding former lovers and romantic partners. I think you could heal the problem and have good legal outcomes this summer through to September the 1st. Always compare, right? Go back 67 to 69, 1996 to 99, 96 to 99, spring to spring. That's how you might see some similarities of Saturn transiting through your fifth house, and how to compare notes if you can. Some of you are not old enough to compare notes. Possibly the birth of a karmic child if you're young enough to make a baby. Okay, this could be pregnancy and fertility, or whatever, conception of a karmic child. Mars is in that labor and delivery room, and Venus is in the conception room. So be careful if you don't want a baby, but if you're looking for a baby, then this could be a very destined karmic soul baby story coming through. In Capricorn. Well, let's go from the basics, Cappies. Number one, if you went back to 1996 to 99 and 1967 to 69, you might be able to notice that Saturn landed his butt in your fourth house. What was that like? Because it might feel the same. Sometimes it could be isolation in the home, feeling lonely, melancholic, and bummed out at home, maybe depressed, maybe anxious, And that feeling will persist for 3 years, sorry to say, if that's how you're going to tackle this thing. Otherwise, architecture, builders, laborers, building a home. Some of you might build a home. Maybe some of you did build a home, 96 to 99 or 67 to 69. Might also have an elder living with you. Grandpa comes to live with you guys, and you're like, oh, God, I'm living with my grandpa, or my elderly father is living with us, or my mother. Those are elders in the home. Senex is in the home. Can you compare notes? Did that happen to you at any point back in your history, like 67 to 69, or 96 to 99? Saturn here is really good. However, if you want to be alone at home, on the positive side, dream something into being, Neptune, and use your midnight hour for solitude. It's not always a bad thing to be alone. There's a difference between lonely and alone. I'm an Aquarius Saturn on my ascendant. I love to be alone. I very rarely feel lonely. So you could choose to be alone, more time alone, sort of home alone. And that, yes, this summer, May through to September, but also over the next 3 years. How does home alone feel? Is it something that you want to invite into your life, more solitude? Now, there is the fact that you have Pluto supporting this from the house of money, earnings, and resources. So there could be some financial gain connected to someone in your family, an elder, especially with Mars in the eighth, like an inheritance from an elder, or money coming from the sale of a property. or money coming from the sale of a car. Any possession could bring you some money in the summer ahead. I also would say that if you have any kind of, elder parent or elder grandparent, yeah, like inheritance money may show up for you from somebody in the family of origin storyline as well. An elder sibling could cover this as well. It's not my most go-to story, but Mars rules the house of the elder sibling, so there is that as well. Mars wants you to change up your money. He's looking at the ingress saying, be more serious, sober-minded, and realistic about your financial resources. Pluto says the same thing. Let's get serious. Let's transform this. And Pluto, Mars, have to figure it out. They were in an opposition. They're no longer there. In this kind of sky, it would be a good idea to go to bat with a financial advisor or an accountant or some bookkeeper type person, or lawsuits about shared resources, and win. I say win because Jupiter in the house of legal disputes and legal actions, like kind of like when someone launches a dispute against you. That's Jupiter in your sixth house, and he's Mr. Law, and he flows to Mars, who's Mr. Cutting, ending, severing, but also dividing an asset. So like spousal support, alimony, custody battles, not custody battles, alimony, spousal support, shared resources in legal dispute matters coming to a head and being resolved this summer through to September 1st. And so there's that too. Okay. And you have a chironic wound of belonging in a home. You've been dealing since 2019, many of you Capricorns, like, where do I belong? Where's my true home? How do I fit in? Where should I be sitting? Am I sitting in the right home? Do I belong to this culture, tribe, family? Being out of step with the belonging factor in your local environment. Well, this is trying to heal, and Venus is here. She's working it, and Mars. So there could be some money coming in that helps you find the home that works for you, to move to a place that really feels true, to find a better belonging tribe somewhere in the world. And you may rent a property where Jupiter is sitting, and it may be in a distant shore or far off land. That's something Jupiter is capable of bringing from the house of rentals. And, where it might also want to work on your health as well. Hygeia in the house of sickness, and maybe taking better care of your health will be also called forth from this sky by changing your Pluto, transforming your dietary style dramatically. Okay, I'm almost down to the last two. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit my notification bell, especially if you're in the premiere. Check out the webinar I'm going to teach as well on how to handle the summer transits of. We're going to go through all the big ones and talk about your sign and what to do with it. So come to my free webinar. I invite you to tip me with buying a coffee once you've registered, but that's optional. And this webinar will be close to the third week of May. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the next story. It is Aquarius rising, sun and moon. I'm rising. Then we are going to notice we have Pluto breathing down our back, and we're having transformation, and we're leaving no stone unturned in the depths of, who we can become, because we are being Plutonianized, because we are looking for authentic transformation and power. All that said and done, here we have it. Saturn has ingressed into the third house on the 20th. It's actually on the 24th, 25th, time zone dependent. And it's going to be through till September 1st that you get the first flavor of what Saturn wants to teach you. And he is a teacher. He's a taskmaster. He's a Zen guy with a stick. Now, first things first, Saturn is all about things you might have experienced in your third house of local neighborhood, high school and elementary school, friends from childhood, aunts, uncles, cousins, and siblings, and things about the domestic local environment in which you every day operate, right? Your environment, like your local hood, the house of writing, the house of online social media, and the house of communicating. How was it for you back in 1996 to 1999? That's when I built my online life. I started going online. I wrote articles. I had products placed at tarot.com. I was making a new business work as a psychic medium and reader. So that worked for me. That's what I did, 1996 to 1999. I had a BBC documentary about me, remote viewing. I had, Baltimore Sun writing about me. I lived in Annapolis at the time. Things were hopping there. Saturn, it can be a good guy. He's not the worst. You're getting the gains of Saturn moving through your earnings house, structuring your money, saving your money. I incorporated. Now the gains are coming through to the third. my knee. How could this work this time? Like, unlike 96 to 99 or 67 to 69, 1967 to 69, how can it work differently? Well, it can work differently because of everything. Neptune is here, everything's different. Neptune says social media platforms that involve videography. Neptune says screenplays, Hollywoods, and movies. Saturn says discipline, focus, structure, incremental daring, brave persistence, gains over time with a sense of feisty independence. Okay. You might find as Saturn comes in here, you're going to be able to structure your time regarding website, creative projects that are writing or communicating, marketing and selling, more forms and structures. For a very boring example, right? I use Pythia. Maybe I'm going to move to Kajabi. I don't like Kajabi. Or maybe Thinkific, a new structure, a new form for where my teaching platform is. That's a little bit more easy to navigate than the one I'm using. The one I'm using is not hard to navigate, but I probably will find a new platform. So structure, form, online world. That's so literal. Pay attention to the summer neighborhood, change of neighborhood. Yes, that could happen. It's funny with Saturn because Saturn would say an old neighborhood, Saturn wouldn't say like that fancy new high rise that just was built in this fancy new zone. No, Saturn means something that's antique. So you might pioneer into a new neighborhood this summer, but look for it to be an older neighborhood, right? Where the houses or the buildings are not brand new. And you may also look at this as the chironic wound around neighbors, neighborhood, writing, communicating, marketing, selling, siblings, all of that. So there's a chironic wound here since 2019. Saturn is going to bring solid, realistic assessment of the situation and fix it all up for you the best he can. I think that with Mars ruling this ingress from the 7th house, you may partner with another person. First of all, Mars is going to activate the trolls for sure in the audience and marketplace and public, but also in the flow to Venus. This is not that. This is like, wow, this summer could look good on your expansion of passionate out picturing to an audience and marketplace through stuff you desire to do that brings you joy in the 3rd house, like teaching my sky reader this summer. I'm looking forward to it. So that looks good on me. What are you guys doing with this? Your spouse, your significant other, your long-term person. Well, I mean, it's been tough, right? Separation, maybe some severing, maybe some problems here since February, when was the ingress? Can't remember. My brain is not going to pull it up, but Mars leaves here mid-April to mid-June. Uncertainty, should I stay or should I go? Relationship stuff for some of you. Now, this is a different energy. This is cooperative. Mars is trining Venus with the ingress. So this looks like a cooperative endeavor with a significant other regarding all these 3rd house things, travel, short distance, neighbors, neighborhood, all of that. I would say that Pluto sitting here in the 1st house is opening up, something about new power for you, new sources of power for you by becoming more structured in the 3rd house area of your life, more formal, more rigid in a good way. Managing your time is the best thing I could say about that. And then we also notice that you might see with the stellium in the 5th house of fun, joy, play, pleasure, entrepreneurship, your children, something good is happening there as well. And, Jupiter is a fertility transit for those of you who could have babies, but otherwise, this could look like a really lovely story of how you're going to expand your prosperity in the house of good fortune, in your art, your creativity, your social media, your online world. If you don't have any of those things going, and some of you don't, then your romantic life is going to up level because, first of all, melting wings, some health challenges. Boy, in menopause, I can relate. In the romance and sex house, Jupiter wants to grow, expand, and lush it up and give you good things. And there's a lot of solar light there, really inspecting this, romantic sex life part of the chart. And then Venus and Mars, the cosmic lovers, are having a fun time. So I think it could look really good on improving this summer, your relationship to fun, joy, play, pleasure, and romance, and having a bit more of a frolicky vibe and more fun and more joy. But Saturn is also the time master. So how do you master the time to balance your life? If that's been an issue, I know that I'm a workaholic, and that is going to be my big summer lesson, to enjoy the summer and not just be working all the time. And leisure trips and travel for romantic reasons are blessed this summer. So go off and have romantic adventures. Those will be very well received by your sky as an Aquarius this summer. And, that's what I got for us. Hopefully that's you. Oh, wait. And Mars is exalted in your 12th house of distant shores and lands. Travel to distant shores and lands. Say yes. It's a good thing for you to do, especially with your significant romantic partner. As well, this summer, you might do a trial run on new sources of income from something you're creating, marketing, and selling that you would sell to borderless income, digital revenue, or far off lands, right? So there could be a nice little sweet spot there this summer as well. It's something new though, because Saturn is in a fresh place, something you haven't done. Not just like for me, I'm doing Sky Reader again. I might create something new this summer, and it might really go well if I do create some new teaching class or course. This is the house of teaching. Saturn makes you the master teacher, the Senex, the wise one, the wise teacher. So, all the work you've been doing in the house of speech or in the house of earnings has kind of captured some authority or mastery that now lends itself to teaching, because teaching is the third house, skills, how to teach people how to do things. Okay. Whew. I need some more of my kombucha. Give me a minute. All right, Pisces. Hit the like button, subscribe, everybody. Please help my channel grow, and hit the notification bell. Check that you're still subscribed. YouTube's still dumping people off my channel. I'm not the only one. I'm hearing about it from a lot of other content creators. They're scrubbing you guys out, and then you think you're subscribed, but you're not. I know why they're doing that, but I don't want to explain it to you. They want to keep their ad revenue in sync with active users. Okay, so Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a sky that's opening up a 1996 to 1999 narrative. And before that, 1967 to 69. Well, it's about your money. And I'm going to give you a very good suggestion, because I've lived through this already. You put in the work. Saturn tested you all like the hell, since 2023. Some of you were challenged to be not depressed, not sad, not lonely, and not sick. Okay, but it's all over. He's left your first house. And for 3 years, he's going to be in your second. Now you get the gains of your hard work to endure Saturn's presence and realistic heaviness in your life. When he goes into your second house, he wants to help you save your money, earn your money in a structured way, contain your money, be a disciplined person with your money, with incremental, daring, brave persistence, and courageous moderation, increasing your financial wellness and resources over the next 3 years. You're testing that premise this summer through to September 1st, right? May 25th to September 1st. So if you grind, you succeed. If you're lazy, you don't. It's so simple. And Venus suggests on the ingress, look at the way you and your spouse are saving, sharing, or holding space for money as well. And look at your investments and your credit cards and credit card debts. Some of you may declare a bankruptcy or cut away a debt or share away a debt, because it's a sensible thing to do, because you're really looking as well as indebtedness financially in the summer ahead. But Saturn's long game would be to help you be more structured on money. And Mars is going to support that through work. By being engaged in Mars in the house of his joy, the house of work, you can increase your money. So if you're not working, you will be working. Good luck not working. You could work from home. Jupiter, the Lord of the 10th, is in the 4th house, flowing to the story. But if your wings had melted in the past around things you were doing in your home, especially having health challenges in the home, those are turning around. Pluto wants you to make money from foreign places, foreign marketplaces, digital income, and revenue. Pluto also supports a dietary habit change or addiction recovery as well, given Saturn gives you the structure, the form, and the discipline to stop eating the Haagen-Dazs every night, to contain your food, or to contain your substance abuse, or whatever it is. And so there will be some new structures that help you, especially with addictive foods. And Pluto powers up recovery and moving out of that state of escapism of some sort on dietary or substances that go through nose and mouth. And that can really see some light at the end of the tunnel for you this summer, if you've been struggling with those kinds of things. Let me know how that goes. I kind of like the fact that the exaltation home for Mars is the 11th house of great gains from one's career and, more influence, more celebrity, more financial gain from the 10th to the 11th. And he's owning that house of work and he's in his joy at the ingress. Like the more joy and passion and discipline and ardor you put into the work you're going to do, whatever that job is or that path is. And you could also start your own business. I don't care which you do, because, Mars is the ruler of your second house and he would be a self-starter there, but he's in the employment house. So some of you might get employed, but whichever way you're working, I'm going to say, don't be afraid of hard work, but find the spark of joy in it. Mars in his joy, he's passionate. Find the spark of joy and passion and let it go. Let it rip. This is a good time to make money. I don't care how old you are. Oh, I'm retired. Well, do you do anything in your retirement? What are you doing at home in your retirement? What would you like to see it look like? It looks like more work than anything, but success and work and money are all interconnected here. Shared monies with a resource partner, okay? Like a marriage partner, are a part of the sky. That's because Venus is in the sign of her exile. And, chironic wound around food style or earnings. You may come into a significant new relationship off of the sky because Mars is in a dating house. And it may be that partnership allows you to rely a little bit more on your significant other's money and not just all on your own. Now, with Jupiter in your fourth house, some of you had luck in the last year already with inheritances, money connected to real estate, land, and property buying and selling. Some of you have already been through that, but there's still a last gasp here. Maybe looking into the next couple of months, Jupiter could give you a last Hail Mary. So look for some luck in that area as well. And Mars says, yeah, I'll support that if I can. Hmm. And finally, you may have a bit of a dispute brewing this summer with a significant long-term partner in your life regarding the shared resources, but you're going to work it out. It'll all come to pass that how you share the money, whether it's a divorce settlement thing or it's just how you share the money you're accruing together, the tension will work out. Some of it is because you're going to start making some money. Okay. Because this is a story that says your partner probably has more or has been more capable or something like that. And you're going to level up here and going to close the gap in some way. I thought, but if you're already in a separation, divorce, Mars in the sixth house can bring that on. Then you're going to have a refinement and an ease and a balance and how you guys are choosing or how probate goes, if it's a will, or if it's a divorce, how you work out the balance of who gets what. There's an attempt to do that in a harmonious way around legal disputes this summer. Wow. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm glad I wrote down my notes this time. Yes, baby steps, incremental daring. Change happens at the speed of safety. Does not matter how many times you fall down, how many times you get back up. Brave persistence, courageous moderation, fear of confrontation. But that can be healthy. Sometimes we should have a fear of lobbing weapons at each other. Thanks for listening. I would say gun laws might be coming in. Saturn would be constriction and Mars is weapons. So weapon laws around weapons. And if that happens, it's probably AI because AI is pioneering war, right? So pioneering Aries weaponry. I bet you any money legislation comes in around AI and drone weaponry and the way wars were conducted, because in Israel, they had that Lavender Where's Daddy program where they basically found the father, they found the daddy, targeted the whole apartment building and killed everyone there to get one guy. But it was all done by AI and drones. And I mean, there's no compassion and there's no heart in artificial intelligence. And it's not always right, right? It's not always right. So I could see legislation and rules and constriction around weapons that are automated through artificial intelligence systems like drones. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Oh, yeah, you see my vacuum is right over there. I'm busy getting everything packed up for my landlady. I'm giving her a hand, sweet lady in Switzerland in her 80s that I had the real pleasure of renting her home for 2 years, and I'm being the most cheerful as we get ready she gets ready to sell the property and I get ready to move. I know the laws in Vancouver, guys, so don't worry. I don't have to move right away, but I will be moving. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Ciao, ciao. And like, subscribe, come to the webinar, get the All Signs bundle. Come join me for Sky Reader this summer. Love to see you in class. Goodbye.